Okay, I had mentioned this year I was going to do versus with a Halloween spin to them. And I sat down and tried to figure out who in the world do I want to do in some of these fights. I mean, you have to sit down and go, do I want to do like aliens versus critters? Do I want to do the hunters from critters versus predators? Do I want to do space things? Do I want to include aliens? Do I want to have aliens fighting, terrestrial creatures? Do I want to have, different eras of characters? Do I want to have like the Van Helsing Frankenstein versus, Boris Karloff Frankenstein? It's like, the amount of options I can go for is virtually limitless. Do I want to see, could somebody survive, a series of traps from Jigsaw, whole 9 yards? I decided for my first fight, I was going to pick two people from when I was growing up who share a lot in common, and that is Jason Voorhees and Michael Myers. So yes, for my first fight, I picked the two people who are slow and don't talk. So close your eyes and picture this fight. You have Jason Voorhees, white hockey mask, essentially a giant walking zombie, for lack of better terminology. Giant rusty machete in one hand. Pan back. In the distance you see the inside-out William Shatner mask painted shock white. Black bodysuit. The only thing you see is the glint of a butcher knife in his hand. No dialogue, those two slowly walking towards each other. And essentially stabbing each other till only one person is left standing. There's no subtlety, there's no feints. There's not going to be a whole lot of, tit for tat. It's going to pretty much be two guys making direct lines into each other and fighting until one person drops. As always, I'm going to use the same 9 criteria that I use for the superheroes and everything else. Well, the only problem is with some of these, you won't have like a 5 and a 4. I might actually drop some, because certain characters, they're really equal, so I can't give one an obvious advantage over another. So, if you haven't seen my old ones, and for the comics, I do intelligence, fighting ability, strength, speed, durability. That's how well you come back from an injury. That's like a healing factor, or stamina in some cases. Invulnerability, how much damage can you take before you actually, begin to feel it. Energy projection, that's your distance fighting. Versatility, how many different things have you used in a fight before? And X factor is that, whatever I didn't cover in the other ones. So we're going to get it right off the bat. Out of these two, intelligence-wise, I have to actually give the edge to Michael Myers. Now, Michael Myers, of course, grew up essentially kind of in an insane asylum, but he actually grew up through that process, so he's gone through a lot of psychological counseling, he's talked to a lot of people, so he actually probably has a higher degree of intelligence than essentially the freak that was Jason Voorhees, who died at a very young age, and really didn't have any sort of formal education. So in that way, I have to give intelligence edge to Mike Myers, just because he's going to actually have, a better forte when it comes to intellectual skills versus Jason Voorhees, who for the most part is kind of just a straight-at-you mindless zombie. You can tell that when they do the facial expression, the emoting with the mask, you see a lot more intelligence behind the eyes of a Michael Myers. It's a frightening intelligence because you know that as a child he essentially went to kill people. But you do see more intelligence. Fighting ability. This one's kind of one of those weird kind of toss-ups. We really haven't seen Jason do a whole lot in the way of fighting. He doesn't really need to. So almost by default, I'll probably give this one to Michael Myers. We've actually seen him, in some of the movies we've seen him actually hide. We've also seen him actually have to get physical and actually, counter move people every now and then, as opposed to just stand there and take physical abuse. Strength. That is Jason Voorhees. We've seen him punch a guy's head off. Speed. Speed is an absolute wash. These two guys walk. Jason doesn't run. Michael Myers doesn't run. Even if you were to use the Leslie Vernon idea of they're walking but they're really running, no. No, these guys don't run. Just picture, you look back, there's Michael Myers. You look back and he's now jogging. He's not as horrifying all of a sudden. Same with, Jason. I don't picture him in his tattered cloth and all of his muscle and sinew showing. I don't picture him running. So speed, wash. Durability. What is it you can come back from? We've seen Michael Myers get shot and be put down with that. We've seen him get blown up and then come back because they wanted to do a sequel for some strange reason. But what finally put Michael Myers down? Someone cut his head off. Okay. What does Jason come back from? Jason's come back from an almost insane amount of things. You know, Jason has come back from a lot more than we've seen Michael Myers come back from. With the exception of the explosion, everything else Jason's come back from is a lot more impressive. You know, we've seen Jason to be electrified, you know, drowned with chains, telekinesis. We've even seen him getting drugged down to hell by Freddy Krueger, as well as be tossed into space. I mean, they had to do lots of things to put Jason down. Cut off the dude's head. Invulnerability. Again, you're looking at, you can shoot Michael Myers and put him down. You can stab him and put him down. You have to do a lot to hurt Jason. Just ask Freddy. Freddy Krueger did an insane amount of damage to Jason. But Jason just has stronger invulnerability and stronger durability. He can take more abuse and will come back from more abuse. Energy projection. Man, we haven't seen a single one of these guys do anything in a distance. I've never seen Michael Myers, pull out a shotgun on somebody. But if he has, he's using it at close range. Jason has stabbed an arrow through somebody, as well as stabbed somebody with a harpoon gun. Again, these are the older versions, not the newer versions. The newer version, of course, shot an arrow at somebody, but this is the old school, original, Kane Hodder version. So energy projection, again, total wash. Versatility. If you look at weapons of choice, you probably almost always see a butcher knife. You see, given where Michael Myers is normally at, it tends to be things you find inside the house. Where Jason is a full camp of things. Machetes, knives, hedge clippers. If he can pick it up and it's sharp, he's going to kill you with it. That is definitely a versatility edge. The amount of things we've seen Jason use to kill people is a lot more impressive than what we've seen Michael Myers use. X Factor. What is that weird sort of scenario that we could see playing out to give one side the edge? Michael Myers has always had this weird thing. If you look kind of like, his sister, you can slow him down. What we learn from Freddy vs. Jason is actually afraid of the water. Because that's how he initially drowned. So you got a fear of water versus if you look like, my sister, you'll soothe me a little bit. I picture there being a greater chance of there being water in the area to kind of, freak Jason out, more than I picture a random woman running into this fray who happens to look like Michael Myers' sister. So if these two were to actually get into a fight, depending on how Michael Myers sets up his initial game plan, he might be able to get in some decent hits on Jason, but Jason is pretty much the juggernaut of horror movie villains. He's got impressive strength. He's got great durability and great invulnerability. And if it's sharp, he's going to use it. He's got a lot more going on for him than Michael Myers does in this sort of more kind of like straight one-on-one sort of battle. So with that, I go with Jason Voorhees.